Hey everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. We are now rounding out my experience that was with the San Diego Film Festival. I went and saw three films, two of which now we have already discussed, those two being Hamnet and Omaha. Now we're going to kick it off with what they chose as their closing piece for the festival, and also a closing out of this trilogy of sorts, if it is to be a trilogy or if there is more in the future. That film that we're going to be discussing today is Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery, which was written and directed by Rian Johnson, who of course directed the previous Knives Out films, as well as other movies such as Brick, and of course, more notably, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, amongst other films here and there. Looper being another one of his, but Knives Out being one of his more notable pieces, and spawning now into a franchise of which Netflix also got a hold of, and here we are now with the third of these films. This once again stars Daniel Craig, as well as a new cast of characters this time around. As tradition with these Knives Out films, they always are trading out, different cast of characters for other ones. This time around, we have Josh O'Connor, who we just talked about with the Mastermind, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Kaylee Spanning, Daryl McCormack, and Thomas Hayden Church. So have notable names here and there, as well as some new faces or some fresh faces in Hollywood. But this tells the story of a church. In the first film, it was kind of a standard modern setting. In the second film, it was a more glamorous setting. With this, we are now going in the religious space, and in this space, there is once again a murder that has taken place. This time, again, within the confines of this priest, Jefferson Wicks, who was played by Josh Brolin, and his just group of followers, as well as this. I don't know if you'd call it a protege or a priest. I don't know what his label would be, but he's played by Josh O'Connor, and he is brought into this church, and he sees lots of wrongdoings that are being done within the church through Jefferson Wicks, just how he conducts himself in the church, and what happens is that there is a murder that takes place, and Daniel Craig is brought in to solve the case once again. Now, that's as far as I will go with spoilers, because as the film actually says up front with Rian Johnson, who actually made a little video thing before the film played, he made a point for the film to not be spoiled. So I will not say anything further than that, than what I just described. So, but getting into the film proper, though, as I actually pull up my notes, I actually forgot to pull up my notes for this. Me and the Knives Out series have not really gotten along. I like the first film enough, but I take issues with ultimately the very frank nature in its storytelling, and I felt that extended to Glass Onion. Now here we are with this, and I was more curious to round out the series and to see if maybe there was some distance that was being made within those issues. But in the case of Wake Up Dead Man, which in this case explores a more of a religious environment, I feel as though that there is a shade of difference with this, but within the first and second film. But those differences, I do feel, do create issues still. But to still give praise where praise is due, I think the performances here are solid. And of the ensembles, I must say, I do believe this might be my favorite of the ensembles, because they all feel fairly well integrated. I would say Jeremy Renner probably being the the weak link, and not to spoil anything, but it feels kind of deliberate in terms of his arc. But that would be getting into specifics, so I won't really get into spoilers there. But everybody feels that well placed, and the performances just feel again more authentic and more natural than what came previously. It's not to knock the previous ensembles, but I feel like in this case these performers specifically and what they're doing and what they're bringing to it, I just feel come across more how do you say it, just like feels like I'm actually seeing more of the characters and less to do with performers, if that makes sense. And it might be also due to the fact that some of these performers are newbies and stuff like that, so it's is less of an anticipation for what they may or may not do in terms of performances. But there's a good sense of engagement as well. I think that for a runtime, I must say, which I don't know if is entirely. Sorry, my kitty is trying to get into the food. But I don't know if it's the case before, but I believe this is the longest of the films. And for as long as the film plays, it does actually have a good sense of engagement and sense of investment. But the issue that we have here, and it boils down to roughly the same issues that I've had before with the series, is a lot to do with how it is written. And in this case, I think, though, it is more highlighted than previously because of its desires of its particular setting. As laid out up front, there is a religious environment that is taking shape here, and within that there is a comment about, or at least that the film at least chooses to explore in terms of a thematic sense, without spoiling too much. The idea of belief and the idea of where those systems spawn from, without giving much away, and to where that idea is met and discovered and executed, and where that environment is placed within the overall filmmaking and the craftsmanship itself, it just creates doubts. And it also feels as though that environment is dictating and salvaging what is, frankly, in my opinion, a piece that is rather chasing itself through what feels a bit overwhelmed and a bit deflated once you give proper context. Because one of the things about the Knives Out films that I've always taken issue with is that they always feel as though they're talking around themselves, and for a large portion of its time, it feels as though that we know what is happening, but because of its need to be theatric, or its need to be positioning itself a certain way, it's trying to create distractions, but not to where it feels informative. It just feels as though we're just kind of spinning its own wheels. And with this, it's not clear this time around really who the killer is. But when that reveal is made when the reveal is made about who is the mastermind behind all this, it chooses to frame it for the desire for more meaning, but it just feels more as a necessity to tie up loose ends, to frankly just find a way to make what was essentially just spinning its wheels for the longest time feel warranted, even though that reveal, or ultimately what is amounted to, just feels as though we just spun our wheels for quite a long time and not amount to much when it's all said and done. Because it's a story. It's like, the best way I could describe it is that he is always telling his stories in a way that feels that they are saying so much and yet providing very little simultaneously. And I feel that the problem has always been that with Knives Out, and the problem with the series is with the one who's been telling it, in my eyes. So I think it has good performances there. I think that there is a good sense of engagement. I think that, there is, established details, but those details are left to doubt when you understand its full context and understanding exactly what the film is wanting to make a point of within the circumstance itself. It just doesn't feel as if all the pieces felt needed. It almost feels as though that they took the pieces, threw them out, and positioned themselves within a certain form of meaning that acts, in my eyes, kind of as a Hail Mary and an escape code to writing themselves in a corner, basically. So I do think, though, it is a step up from a film like Glass Onion, which I feel is kind of replicating what the original did. I give it marks for trying to do something a little bit different, but I feel as though ultimately in execution, it's still problematic. And I feel the problem always will be, in my eyes, with the person who is behind the camera, with the one who is literally telling it. Because always with him, when it comes to writing out these stories, it feels like he's always overdoing it and not just getting to the point and getting to what really matters. And because of that, it just feels rather deflated and just doing too much for very little. So those are my thoughts on Wake Up Dead Man. Not particularly great. Like I said, I think that is a little bit of a step up from Glass Onion because at least it tries to go for something different in terms of its overall direction and meaning. But that meaning, I feel, is dictating and trying to salvage what is ultimately chasing its own tail for a large portion of its time. And as the series as a whole, how it lays out information or tries to build its mystery, it just feels that that's a lot of its time what it's doing, in my eyes. But those are my thoughts on Wake Up Dead Man. It will be coming out later this year. Has a release date for December 12th on Netflix, and a limited release window in theaters on November 26th. So, but if you guys did check out Wake Up Dead Man at the film festival or have seen it already, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. No spoilers. Just respect the filmmaker. Let me know your thoughts on the series as a whole. Also with the first film and Glass Onion. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.